see it up on the screen.
Oh.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome. This is, can I ask you to put a mute on that if we're on the same one? Sorry, we're in a meeting room today. Today I've got the RANZ executive with me. We're at the RANZ executive meeting in Dunedin and our regional meeting tonight in Dunedin. So I welcome you to our presentation today for New Zealand Women in Roofing. We have Matt Vaughan from MV Corporate Health, who's here to present to us on the Art of Destressing, Wellbeing and Life Balance. We're going to kick in just about another minute, just waiting for those final people to come into our meeting on that front. And so just give me one more minute. Matt, do you want to introduce yourself?
Well, yeah, I might do a little bit of that. Thank you very much, Victoria. And I'm not sure if we tell everyone about the fun we had this morning trying to make this work with the technology issues that we had, but we got there eventually. So welcome, everyone. My name is Matt Vaughan. I run a couple of different wellbeing companies that you'll learn about throughout this quick session today. One being MV Corporate Health, the other one being more of an online company, which is called Heal Me Well. I am a Kiwi through and through. And the reason I say that is because I have lived all over the world. I've only just come back to New Zealand after being away for 19 years. So I was in the UK for 11. Where I was doing a lot of stuff in strength conditioning and also rugby. So I was actually a rugby player, a contracted rugby player over there. I then moved from the UK to Australia, Melbourne, where I lived for 8 years. So every now and then I get someone who says, "Oh, where are you from?" And they'll brand me with a little bit of Aussie, or I'll say a certain word or a terminology which is probably a bit more UK-ish, but my accent has never changed. It's just sort of blended a little bit. So that's all I'm going to say with that one there. I've got a beautiful little son, Leo, who's 9 years old, who he's based here in Christchurch. I'm no longer with his mother, and I have a trans-Tasman marriage where my wife is half based in Melbourne and then half based in New Zealand. So today we are going to be talking a little bit about stress and so forth. And I'm not going to say I lived the perfect life, team. That is not the case whatsoever. So we'll get into that a little bit later on. So just as a quick intro, that's who I am, the other businesses I run, and I'm really keen to get in front of you guys right here and then at the RANZ conference later on as well in the year.
That's great. Thanks, Matt. Now we're showing up on screen Matt's presentation. We have had, as he said, some connectivity issues this morning with a little bit of fun. So I'm rolling Matt's presentation and Matt's talking. So let's go and we'll see how we go.
Cool. All right, everyone. So today we are going to be covering a few different topics, really around a bit of health and wellbeing, of course. That's our field. That's my field in particular. And the things we're going to discover today. I actually can't see the slides up on the thing, but I have got it up here on my computer as well. So as long as everyone else is there, can I just double check that other people can see it?
That's a really good point. Let's check in the chat, please. Can someone answer me in the chat that they can see the slides on screen?
Or can they just see it? Yes.
Yep. Great.
Cool. So, as I say, what we'll do is if we go on to slide number 2, which is based around what we all cover. And today we're just going to go through why I'm here, really. So going through a little bit of the workplace wellness findings that I know that some of you will be all over, and it's really, really good to get a little bit of a backstory into why we're sort of diving into this. Outside of that, we're then going to go into fueling that. We're going to go into stress and the common effects of it, just so we can really deep dive a little bit more into that side of things. Then we're going to go into some hydration and nutrition basics, more of a general conversation around that. And then we're going to go into some recovery, which I believe is the biggest thing that we really need to work on in this day and age. I'll then introduce you into how we do look after clients up and down New Zealand with my other business, Heal Me Well, in terms of that. And also, we have got an offering for anyone who wants to have a little dabble with it as well. Because part of what we do is we make sure that when we go into companies and we look after businesses, etc., and employees, we always offer something that's quite personalized. And for me and for what my skill set is, being a qualified nutritionist, a qualified strength and conditioning coach, and also most recently qualified in mental health certifications. For us, we love to provide something personalized. So we've got either a nutrition plan that you can try for a free month on what we do in terms of our programs. And if you wanted to add an exercise as well, you can get a free month on those as well. So that's just for a little, if you want to have a little dig at it, great. If not, not a problem at all. Someone's saying I can't see the slides or anything. So there might be some people, depending on what views they might have. Same here, I can't. So before I go any further, let's see if we can suss out why they can't hear. Yep, there's a few people saying they can't see the slides. It might depend whether or not you're on a phone or if you are. There we go. There we go. Victoria, you're all over it. That test run was not lost. Well done. Working now. Slides are up. Happy days. Cool. So that's the stuff we're going to be going through, team. And let's kick straight into it. So we'll go on to the next slide, please, Victoria. There we go. That's the one. Now, again, why am I here? If there's something that I really love to talk about, it's the fact that us Kiwis, and I'm going to say this because I have lived all over the world, Western society are living longer than ever, which is great. Reasons for that, let's be honest, everyone's a little bit more over their own personal health and well-being, or they have a bit more of a skill set, or they have other people that are doing things around them, so that's making them be a little bit smarter around their health and well-being, medications and so forth and things like that there. So hygiene standards are far better than they used to be way back in the day. So I'm talking many years ago. As I say, Kiwis are living longer than ever, which is great news. But one of the biggest issues with those last 10 to 15 years, and if you want to think about either parents, elderly parents or grandparents right now, a lot of them go into some sort of physical, they have some sort of physical disability or potentially some sort of mental disability. And normally if you've got one, it slips into the other. And the best way to explain this is it's all around independence. Independence is so important for your health and well-being or your stress levels, everything around how you feel about yourself or your environment has a massive impact on what's really going on. And that's a lot to do with your independence, okay? On the other scale as well, when we look at the workplace wellness findings, now these are from a few years ago, and there's a reason I've done these from a few years ago. In terms of workplace, we had a lot of sick days through absenteeisms, through poor mental health, and our stress for between 2017 and 2019 went up 23.5%. Now that cost in terms of absentees away from work cost us $1.79 billion throughout New Zealand, okay? Now, the big thing is COVID has since hit. We are trying to still recover, and we will be still trying to recover for a very long time from COVID, and especially the financial implications that we've had through that there. But since then, our stress levels have gone from 23.5% right up to 66%. Now, we all know that mental health has been trying to get out there into the world or into the economy and so forth a bit more, to bring a bit more self-awareness. I'm one of those businesses that is trying to do that, but we're also trying to solve the problems at the same time. So, as I say, we don't have a financial costings of what's happened over the last few years because it's still rising. But as I say, way back then, 2017 to 2019, it cost us 1.79 billion. So I'm going to throw it out there and say it's costing us a whole lot more right now. And one of the things I really want to dive into now is the stress factors. So if we could go on to the next slide, please, Victoria. Beautiful. The three things that we are going to dive into a little bit more are these particular sources of stress. So mind, body, and behaviors. And obviously that's those behaviors that we really want to focus on, but we can't focus on that until we've got better self-awareness around what it's potentially doing to our mind and also our body. So if we move on to the next slide, please, Victoria. Now we're going to talk about the most common effects here, and I've only got, say, 4 or 5 up there at the moment. Now, I could have listed many more, but in terms of the common effects of stress on your body, it's really important to get our heads around what these feelings are. So that, again, the better that we are in terms of our self-awareness around these things, the better the opportunity to be able to do something about it. Now, if we were to talk about the first one, which is muscle pain, that's something that could happen if we are very stressed out, or another way to say this, which is for a lot of people, will be very common, and they'll be able to say, yep, I know what you're talking about here. And again, I want you guys to all to understand this, is that if you've ever done any training, it doesn't have to be a gym program or anything like that there. You might have overexerted yourself for a hike or a longer walk than ever. Maybe you lifted something incorrectly or something like that there, and all of a sudden you've got pain. Exercise is a stress on your body. I need to say that, and it is a stress on the body because physiologically we actually break down muscle, so it creates stress to our muscles, joints, ligaments, etc., for the hope that we then fuel it better and we sleep better to recover so it can actually grow back and be stronger. Doesn't have to be bigger, FYI, it just wants to be stronger. And the more that we do a certain exercise, the better or stronger we get. But as I say, muscle pain is a form of stress on our body. So it's really important to talk about that there. The other ones so the next two on the list as we cruise around there, often aren't spoken about, especially within men, things like fatigue, or, I don't have to look anyone in the eye when I say this, a lost libido. So our sexual drive disappears. Now, we shouldn't be shy around talking about that. And I have no problems whatsoever of putting my hand up and saying, during some extremely stressful times, and it's very easy to talk about this, like going through divorce, knowing that I'm not going to be living with my beautiful son for, for now on until he gets to choose. Way back then when it first happened 6 or so years ago, that was an extremely stressful part of my life. And yeah, I did lose my libido. Like, it was the last thing I cared about. But guys and people tend not to talk about that sort of stuff, but it's one of the signs that we are stressed out. And again, you shouldn't be afraid to talk about these things. Fatigue in itself, people just think they're tired. Well, you can be tired for some time, but if it goes on for weeks on end and you're feeling like your cup is only half full or quarter full, and you're waking up tired, you're waking up grumpy, you're waking up things like that there, that is a sign that the effect of stress on your body is really taking hold of you. So again, it's all about understanding this. The other things that are spoken about, which are a bit more sort of commonality, are the sleep problems. So I'm not sleeping well. Often you're going to bed and you've got lots going on. Or potentially headaches are a problem. They're not a problem for a lot of people, but people will relate that to some sort of stress as well. can be just around hydration or poor diet as well, which I will dive into a little bit later on. Can I go on to the next slide, please, Victoria? Thank you. So now we're going to go on to the common effects of stress on your mind. Look, right at the top there, we have depression. It is one of the utmost, biggest issues that we have. Actually, anxiety would be the biggest issue. It's the biggest issue in the Western society, especially New Zealand, in terms of mental illness or people having a certain amounts of anxiety, without a doubt. And anxiety can be a number of different things. It can be triggered from not having a clue of what's going on or what's actually triggered you with anxiety. It could be a good example for me is I get a bit of anxiety when I don't know where I'm going when I'm driving. Maybe, my wife has said we're going somewhere and I'm like, I need to know where I'm going. Like that creates a very minute little bit of anxiety. And I know it's happening. So we discuss this and I might say, I'll just chuck it on my phone and then I know where I'm going, problem solved. Okay. But with a lot of people, including my beautiful wife, she'll get anxiety and it'll just come on. Maybe she's been on the computer for way too long. And it's actually quite debilitating, to the point where it's really short, sharp breaths. And it's more of a case of just needing to chill out for a bit. And it could be an hour or so before you actually feel better. But this is one of the common effects of stress. If you do know someone, or maybe yourself, does suffer from anxiety, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Or you could be working with someone right now who you can just tell from their own energy that they're not in a good place. It potentially could be anxiety. And if they end up getting irritable or angry or something like that there, snappy or something like that there, that could be a sure sign that something has upset them and you can't actually help them in that moment in time. Another thing would be around motivation and focus. That's a huge one, that if you are very stressed out, remember we're talking about stress and this is on your mind right now. Motivation, focus, overwhelmed, like I just mentioned before, irritability or anger. They are all sure signs that someone has gotten to that point where it's a little bit like a volcano. Some people are just, they're the opposite. They will shut up shop and they don't want to talk and they want to go away and do nothing. Some people, they're those people. Okay. So again, we're here to understand people. The better you understand them, the better you're going to be around how you can help them as well. And obviously depression is a huge one. When they do get to that point where they are clinically depressed, there's not a lot you can do apart from listen and then potentially guide them to a place where they can actually go get professional help. And I'm just saying that being someone who's qualified in mental health, there's only a certain amount you can do before you can actually help them and guide them to the next level. Okay, so just so you know. On to the next slide, please, Victoria. And that's the common effects of stress on your behaviors. Now, this is a huge one. This is when your workplace, it really comes into action here, because if someone isn't doing their work, it might seem like they don't have the capabilities or they can't handle the stress amounts. Okay. Now, for a lot of people, they can't. There could be certain things that are going on in and around the business that have applied a lot more pressure. Maybe there's people have disappeared from your work. They've gone, they've moved on to a new job, and you haven't been able to fill that void yet, so that work gets lumped on to someone else. Again, it could be that you've got a lot of people having those standard 10 days of sick days now, plus a few more, and every time someone's away, someone else has to pick up that slack. Okay, and that's the truth. When someone goes away, there's a reason you hire X amount of people. It's to get the jobs done, to complete the tasks. But if someone's ducking and diving and they're sick a lot, it does pass on that stress. So behaviors is a huge thing that we really want to get to. So you could be exercising less. Okay, so if you're exercising less or moving less, that could be a sure sign that your behaviors are starting to change. You've completely lost motivation. On the flip side of that, you could be emotional eating as well. And we all know that some people, if they're emotionally eating, it could be eating way too much, or it could be eating way too little. Both are bad, and they will eventually affect things like your productivity, your immunity, your emotional and capabilities, and everything like that there. And then for some people, they go on to drugs and alcohol. Now, I do know that alcohol spelled incorrectly there. I was on to my 5th whiskey when that happened, so I apologize in advance, but that was just a bit of a typo, so I do apologize. But drugs and alcohol is huge within our industry. I say our industry, within roofing, construction, and things like that there. We know it. I know that we know it, but it's not been addressed well. In many cases, there are a lot of the companies that I deal with up and down New Zealand, they are doing drug testing, but I still believe that people think they can get away with it, which is a huge issue, and that does massively affect their behaviors. Things like angry outbursts, as I've spoken about, that's part of a behavior, or again, another one is social withdrawal. That would be me if I get stressed out. Social withdrawal, not wanting to hang out in social groups, or maybe just staying home. That's a very common thing, especially around men and so forth. Maybe yourselves as well. Maybe that's your sign that your behaviors and stress has really got to you. Move on to the next slide, please. Now, nutrition team is an absolute massive one around why you might be feeling stressed. At the moment, in New Zealand, without a doubt, food prices are bumping up. So we tend to, if we are in a struggle situation in terms of finances, we tend to go for the amount of cheaper options as possible. So we're trying to reduce that cost of spend, but then we're fueling ourselves with low nutrients, low good energy foods where we actually feel good about ourselves. Most commonly, best one to talk about would be, I know thousands of people who have said to me, oh, I had McDonald's, or I had, you name it, one of the other takeaway standards, and they always go, oh, it tasted so good at the time, but I felt shit after it. Okay, that is a common practice, and when you aren't fueling yourself correctly, even 50% of the time, that nutrition is going to create stress. It is, when it's poor processed food, it is going to create more and more stress because you're not getting the goodness out of the food that you need. And nutrition is often looked as the third or fourth thing that can really help you out. I would actually put it as the second, and the first one being recovery / sleep, and then your nutrition. And that's before exercise and stuff like that there. So nutrition is a massive one. Good whole foods that you don't have to process yourself a lot. Highly processed food is the type of food that we have to process a lot. And for a lot of highly processed foods, they do create inflammation of your body. And if we are creating inflammation of our body, which is a stress within our body, all of our immunity will go to trying to get rid of that current inflammation within our body, and it will give up on other stuff first and foremost. Okay, so eating poor nutrients foods will not allow us to feel good. It will not allow us to sleep well, and then you've got a complete knock-on effect. So in terms of nutrition, it's massive if you can start to sort out the very, very, very basics of, best way to say this is, if you were to go back to your grandparents' type of age, if they don't notice what the food is on the table or on your plate, it's normally not that good for you. If you're eating out of a box, a bag, and all that sort of stuff, it's normally not that good for you. If you were to go back to meat and two veg, or if you're a vegan or vegetarian and you were to go back to the real basics, okay, you would be a whole lot better, 100%. Please move on to the next one. Thank you very much. Now, for this one team, hydration. Everyone's like, what? How much? how much should I drink? How much do I truly need? And I'm going to give you a quick calculation here, team. So I'm going to say to you, whatever your body weight is in kgs. So let's say 84, and I am 84. So I'm 84 kgs. I times that by 0.033, and that'll give me a rough literage of what I need to drink to stay well hydrated. So I'm going to say that again. Your body weight in kgs, I don't care if you're 100 kgs or you're 50 kgs, just if you do this calculation, it'll give you a rough figure, which is better than saying 8 glasses, because it could be 8 glasses or 8 glasses, or 2 liters, which is not a bad way to look at it as well. 2 liters is pretty good overall, but that'll give you a rough sort of guesstimation of what you should have. The other way to think about it as well, I know with a lot of businesses, I talk about the color of your urine and things like that there as well, which is super important. Hydration is absolutely, like, in terms of getting optimal health, if you can be well hydrated means that your urine color will be a slight yellow, a slight yellow. That's good. If your urine is more of a dark yellow, you're very dehydrated, and that's going to create a whole lot of other issues for poor circulation and things like that there. It was your body weight. I just saw a question pop up. Your body weight in kgs times 0.033, and that'll give you a literage. Mine's about 2.7 liters, if that makes that easy for you, so give or take. So yeah, hydration is massive, absolutely massive. Cognitive function, just energized, get away from caffeinated drinks all the time. Your mothers, your Red Bulls, your things like that there. That's actually not doing what it says it does on the tin. Believe it or not, you've been well marketed to. So yeah, hydration is free for most of us, and it's the best thing for you without a doubt. Can we flick on to the next one, which is based around recovery? So here is my number one for looking after your stress symptoms and your basic health and well-being. If you can get a really good sleep routine, a good sleep routine in short would mean going to bed at the same time every night and waking up at the same time every night. And that's not just for 4 nights a week, that's 7 nights a week continuously for weeks on end. Why do people get this wrong? Because they think that, Sunday night to Thursday night will do. All of a sudden the weekend starts on Thursday night, they go out for a few, all of a sudden their sleep routine stuffed up. Then Saturday, Sunday, they think, oh, time off work, time to rip into it, and you can never recover from having worse sleep or bad sleep or 3 or 4 hours. Okay, I know there's going to be some people that are going to say, hey, I'm sweet with 4 hours sleep. You might be for a certain amount of time, but you do have to pay the piper at some stage. You'll often find that you're the person later on in life that's got cardiovascular issues and things like that there. And that all stems from not being able to, when we sleep, we recover on a cellular level. We are recovering every cell, and we're trying to rebuild our cells every single day. And we do that through good food, good hydration, maybe a little bit of exercise to increase how we push oxygen around our body. But from where we are now until about 3 months' time, every cell in our body would have rejuvenated. So think about that. We are trying to make this as easy as possible for ourselves, okay? Now, it's a massive thing in terms of emotional strength. If you sleep well, it's very easy to say, when you have a good night's sleep, you might actually say hello or hi, how are you, and talk to someone in the morning. If you've had a shit night's sleep, you might go straight to your desk or straight to your tools, and you just want to get on with your job. Emotional, you just can't be bothered. And if you can't deal with relationships, you often find that a lot of your other things fall away in your life as well. The other thing about sleep is, as I got there, immunity. If you want a strong defense of feeling better and not being sick often, sleep is the number one thing that you could do to look after yourself. Next slide, please, Victoria. I'm just very conscious of time. I know this only goes for half now. Here's a little intro on my other business, Heal Me Well Team. So this is an online health assessment. If you see on the bottom left-hand side, you can get instant results. The health assessment takes about 6.5 minutes. From that, you only have to do it 4 times in a year. So I take up about 28 minutes of your employee's time throughout a whole year. 28 minutes is all. From that, you get a snapshot, which is similar to that middle, the middle picture of the left-hand side. The left-hand side of the spirograph is mental health. The right-hand side is physical health. What you also get is personal development. So we actually get to work on your work-ons. I don't call them weaknesses. I call them work-ons. So whatever you're not so good at, you get a personal development video once a week for 12 weeks. And in the middle there, you'll see a case study we've done with Sinlay. That's over 5 months. So that was with a team of about 30 odd. You'll notice that their team is quite good on the mental health side of things because of their positions. A lot of managers have a diagram or a spirograph very much like that there. Because they're so busy, their physical side is not so good. 5 months later is the other diagram just to the right, and you'll notice that it's really picked up on their physical side of things. And the feedback is basically, it's like getting a little tap on your shoulder. It's like having me in your ear every single week saying, "Oi, have you drunk that water?" Or, "Hey, have you prepared your food?" Or, it's all about relationships. It's all about goal settings or resilience and movement, basic movement. So it's things around that as well. So that's my Heal Me Well business that we run. And the next slide, please, is just a QR coupon code for New Zealand Women in Roofing here, where if you were to scan that code and you were to go on and try a free month on one of our plans, it would look like the next slide over, and you would actually get a full plan, any diet you want, full shopping list. You can swap out meals. You can get exercise on there as well. You can train from a gym. You can train from home. You can just walk if you're a complete beginner. Gives you multiple options and things like that there. So that's there as an offering if you do want to try something that's going to help potentially you or any of your friends and family as well. We never hold back on how many you can have. But if you want to try it as a free month, you can go for that, and we can cancel it after that if it's not for you as well. So that's not a problem at all. But that's bang on pretty much 30 minutes, team. I hope that gave you a little bit of an insight. Victoria, I will hand this back over to you.
Thank you very much. Hopefully we've got all on screens and we're all seeing the right things now. I thank you, Matt. There were some things there that really resonated with me, and one is the exercise and balance on that front, as I found myself doing emails at 6:30 this morning and not going for a walk like I intended to. But also in the room, there were some noddings on staff and excessive workload, where we pick up staff that have left, or perhaps staff that don't turn up to work, and suddenly that stress sits on a business owner trying to complete the projects that they have in play. The code that Matt's put there, we'll put out on a follow-up email, and I think we'll send that out with a copy of the recording and a PDF, with your permission, Matt, of the slides. So the contact details are there for people to come back to Matt on that front. We've put the calculation for water in the chat, but I'll also include that on the follow-up email that we send out. Are there any other questions on chat or perhaps on the room here that they may have for Matt as we're going forward? Nope. Okay. Well, I have to say I'm going to be signing up to that, because I think that could do me a lot of benefit. I did get some comments when I sent out my last notification for this meeting that perhaps me sending it out at 8 o'clock at night wasn't good work-life balance. But to the person who replied to me at 10 o'clock, I'm pleased to see that you were online today as well. Our next meeting is on the 18th of May. And that's with Eddie Tell from Superior Waterproofing, talking about membrane, which is going to be really interesting. I'd like to say thanks so much to Matt today for your time. Thanks for coming online with me this morning as we work through some of our connectivity issues with Teams today. And thank you everybody for joining us as well today. We'll see you again soon. Enjoy the follow-up, get online, and let's get our stress down and get our life balance back. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, everybody.